Florida, Georgia, Ole Miss, Arkansas, A&M, South Carolina. Good slate of SEC games this week. Time to get the squad together in this Halloween edition. MIZ.
You're talking ball with the SEC squad. From Alabama to Tennessee, from Georgia to Oklahoma, from Auburn to Texas, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming SEC weekend. It's the SEC squad, and we have a seat for you. Hurt feelings and thin skin are prohibited. Squad up, you're part of the SEC squad.
Oh, yeah, everybody. Welcome into the SEC squad. Sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we get you ready for another wild week across the SEC. Welcome in to the SEC squad. I am Chris Gordy. Happy Halloween to all of you out there, host of Locked On SEC. We have normally it would be Zach Blackerby, host of Auburn, but for those watching on YouTube, we have Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean joining us. Stephen Willis, host of Locked On Ole Miss, who is a Detroit Tigers player. Riley Green, you said?
Yes.
Clint Shamblin, Locked On Bulldogs. He's just dressed up as avoiding disappointment for the Georgia Bulldogs. Andrew Stefaniak, he had a banana costume on a minute ago, host of Locked On Aggies. Spencer McLaughlin, Locked On College Football. He's going as a milk drinker. Jay Smith, host of Locked On Sooners. He is going as Bane. Good to see that. We have our buddy John Neighbors, host of Locked On Razorbacks. He is Baker Mayfield, apparently. And Eric Kane, host of Locked On Vols. He's going as, I don't know, Eric Ainge or something. We'll give you something average. Welcome in, gents. How are you? Happy Halloween, everybody out there.
Happy Halloween, guys.
Happy Halloween.
Davey, your voice sounds a little bit different than the last time I saw you on my television. What's going on there?
I know it. Auburn started winning again, and I got really excited.
I thought the Dutchman always needed a captain. Who's driving the ship?
Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze is the captain.
My old spoiler alert here, but Davy Jones hasn't been captain of the Flying Dutchman for about 19 years when Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End came out.
I know it was hard
shut
to
up,
blown,
Spencer.
but okay.
Shut up.
Nerd.
At least we know
Nerd.
Hugh Freeze got a little seasickness this week. Matt, Zach, let's start with you. Give us a prediction about your team this week.
Oh, goodness. I think Auburn turns a winning streak of 1 into a winning streak of 2. They're favored by a touchdown, according to our friends at FanDuel, against Vandy. What a time to be alive. I think Auburn covers that, and I think they get a little bit of a winning streak going. I can't take you seriously in that math. What do you mean?
Your eyes are pretty. I'll give you that. Stephen Willis, give me a prediction on or a thought on your team this week.
I think Ole Miss fans are going to have nightmares about seeing Talon Green because of the memories they have of Matt Jones. But I think that Ole Miss has the talent on the defensive line and the linebacker position to actually spy him. That Ole Miss versus Arkansas offense versus defense battle is going to be the matchup of the week in the SEC.
Clint Shamblin, make a prediction on your team this week.
Well, my prediction is you're forever going to be known as Gordy Chris from here on out because you got the name wrong. It's Georgia-Florida game, so you're Gordy Chris from here on out. Here's the prediction. Billy Napier continues to coach because Georgia's going to win. It's not going to be by the point spread that's now 16.5. I think it's going to be a little closer than that. Florida is all up in their feels, thinking they actually have a running attack on offense. They haven't faced anybody like Georgia. Georgia continues the defensive excellence ongoing, and we cruise to a victory.
Clint, it's Florida-Georgia line. It's not Georgia-Florida line, all right?
I disregard anything that has Florida first.
Andrew, give me a prediction. The Aggies go from just happy to be here to suddenly leading the SEC.
Yeah, my costume is actually undefeated. Only one here in this conference that can wear that today. But, this game against South Carolina, I'll tell you.
Well, undefeated in conference play.
I said conference play. I said I'm the only one here.
You took a weirdly long pause in between that. I just wanted
He did say today. There was a lot of asterisks in that sentence. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, that took a really long time for you to say, but that's okay.
You don't have to like it. It's just reality. But
come to Jordan here in a few weeks. It'll be all right. We're going to put you in Davy Jones's locker. It'll be fine.
Okay. Well, I'm sure if Peyton Thorne's there, I'm not too worried about it. But this South Carolina game is one that, speaking of which, I'm a lot more concerned about this game than I am heading down to play Auburn. South Carolina, that defense is scary. And if they can put something together offensively. They've proven they can win football games. So it's a game coming off an emotional win. Texas A&M is going to struggle on the road playing South Carolina this weekend.
All right, Andrew, your team undefeated. Your beard is not. Let's trim that thing up. Eric Kane, give me a thought on the Tennessee Vols.
Yeah, bye week last week, so a lot of time has passed since Tennessee took down Alabama, a border bowl game against Kentucky, an offense that is just atrocious. Don't know who's going to start a quarterback for Kentucky, but it's not going to matter because that offense is bad. Defense is not horrible, but they're not healthy. Plus Auburn ran for like 400 against them, so Vols should roll. Vols should win by 50.
Yeah, I don't look. Kentucky's been terrible. Wouldn't it be just on them to suddenly play one of their best games this week? It's how the SEC has been going this year.
I resemble that remark.
Baker Mayfield.
I think you meant to say resent, but yeah,
maybe not a thought of the Tampa Bay Bucks, but how about a thought on the Arkansas Razorbacks?
Well, I just woke up feeling a little bit dangerous today. I was just feeling a little bit because I'm telling you, this Arkansas game is about like Dixon Street. It'll get you because anytime Ole Miss comes to Fayetteville, whenever they face off against Sam Pittman, it's not gone well for them. The first time that Sam Pittman and Lane Kiffin met, Matt Corral threw 6 interceptions in a game, like for real, and 3 of them was the Hudson Clark, the no-fly zone. So you're going to have that, and then you have 2 years ago where Arkansas beat the brakes off of them too. So this game's going to get weird. It's going to get crazy. And I can't wait to be disappointed. It's going to be awesome.
Jay Smith, the way that Oklahoma season is going, I half expect you to blow up the field on Saturday, but give me a thought on Oklahoma.
Yeah, we're definitely rushing the field after this W. I just checked FanDuel, and they're still up there. The spread is 34.5. So as a longtime member of the SEC, I totally understand that we have to leverage this game as a moment to build blocks forward for the rest of the season. I'm just throwing a whole bunch of Coach BS speak at you all. It's been an awful, awful setup. But look, we're playing Maine. If we embarrass ourselves in this one, this will be the last time y'all see me this season.
Bonus points for anyone who can name Maine's mascot. Had to look
the Black Bears.
Yeah, had to
It's
look
easy.
that one.
It's pretty cool. I kind of like it. But hey, Gordy, I wanted to mention this one to you though. There has been an upset every week this season in SEC. Congratulations.
That's true. Last week's was pushing it though. Last week's was Auburn beating Kentucky. Now it's kind of pushing it. Still don't think that was an upset, but regardless, you are correct. And hey, by the way, Oklahoma had a halftime lead on Ole Miss, so you had that going for you.
Yeah. Then we lost our starting left tackle and started getting destroyed. We got sacked 6 plays out of 7.
Yeah, it
in
was
a
really
row.
hinging upon that left tackle. Nothing else.
Literally was, because literally that's where it was coming from the entire time. Perkins was literally running from the left side, from that side.
Jackson Arnold had a half.
He said, "Coach, let me have that ball." Huh?
Well, Jackson Arnold had a half. That's good.
He did. And then when his left tackle went down, Perkins literally just ran past our redshirt freshman left tackle and hit him every single play. It was the last 2 drives of the game was disgusting. We literally gave up 10 sacks, 6 of them literally happened in the last 2 drives of the game.
After that game, Sontaran Perkins is now tied for the SEC lead in sacks.
There you go. He had 4. Perkins literally said, "Give me that sack, Coach, please." Walter Nolan didn't play the second half. That's what makes it embarrassing. He did not play the second half. Perkins ate us alive.
Spencer, I know you don't have an SEC team, but you have an SEC thought going into this week?
I do. I wanted to go back to this ridiculous confidence that Auburn has against Vanderbilt. Why are we just throwing shade at Vandy here? Because I no longer tolerate Vanderbilt slander. And the only thing that's scary about Peyton Thorne playing a football game is your defense being overconfident going into the next week after they force 3 to 4 turnovers. I am taking Vanderbilt to upset. I guess it's an upset. I thought Vanderbilt should be favored in this game. Vanderbilt wins.
I did too. When I went live after the game, I kind of guessed what the line would be, and I said Vandy by like 2.5. I think was what my prediction was. So I'm there with you. I'm a little surprised by it, but I do think Vandy hasn't been as good away from Nashville. The gauntlet that is Memorial Stadium. I don't know. I do think Auburn found an identity with Jarquez Hunter. It's weird it took them that long to figure out that Jarquez Hunter is an effective.
Yeah, Zach, I feel like
the SEC, best running back everybody considered the top running back.
Yeah, I feel like that was our conversation before the season, Mr. Jones. Is that Auburn's going to be able to give Peyton Thorne a running game because Jarquez Hunter is so good. But I mean, better late than never, right?
Yeah, no kidding. So I mean, I think some of it has to do with that. I think some of it has to do with Auburn's playing a ton of freshmen on the defensive side of the ball, and they're getting better. They're like legitimately good. And so, I think that has a lot to do with it as well. And it's at Jordan-Hare Stadium. And I think that's always going to help you.
But Gordy, to add real quick, your actual upset from last week was Texas A&M over LSU, 14-8.
Yeah, but we don't go by rankings. We go by point spread, Jay. A&M was the favored team in the matchup. That's not an upset. We look at upsets in Vegas' eyes.
You seem pretty upset about it. I know that.
Yeah, Gordy, you want to talk about that? You want to talk about LSU losing?
Hey, I'm more upset about my team losing 34-0 Alabama. All right, MIC, let's go.
Hey, by the way, the weirdest thing was Arkansas beating Mississippi State, scoring 58 points and going 0 for 7 on third down in that game.
I still have no idea. First and second game of the season, all of a sudden, Arkansas just said, "Hey, let's go play."
Yeah.
Pretty impressive, actually.
Before we head to the next segment, give me a thought on South Carolina heading into this week.
So I'm pretty excited about this. I think that after Casey Smith opened her big dumb mouth, I think that there's a lot of people that are fired up from South Carolina. The thing is, you cannot have a situation they had like they did against Ole Miss, where you're coming off a bye, you're at home. Like, this has been catered to them, and you've seen the line drop from 4 to 2. And I cannot look at Davy Jones right now. This is insane. I keep trying to have just constant thoughts. Anyway, but yeah, it should be a fun weekend. I'm excited.
Are you just getting drawn in by those big blue oceanic eyes?
They're terrifying. I'm in Atlanta right now, and I saw 3 people on the sidewalk that looked exactly like that today.
We're going to dive deeper into Georgia, Florida, and A&M and South Carolina. The SEC squad talking more ball next. More with the squad in just a second, but we'll remind you guys you can get ready to tackle the NFL action and college action with FanDuel. They are America's #1 sports book, and right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, college, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with, like we said, that $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is over at FanDuel, FanDuel.com. Get signed up today. If you never enjoyed what they got going before, you can take advantage of that great $150 bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Download the app, check them out. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. SEC squad rolling on here, a Halloween edition. As good to see Chris Marler dressed up as a D-bag. Awesome. Want to see what you guys have to think about some of the games happening this weekend. Let's get into it. This has officially become the SEC game of the week. It's not Georgia, Florida. It's A&M at South Carolina.
Actually, Florida, Georgia. Just want to point that out.
Well, you came late, Chris. You already missed the joke, and we already did that. Move on.
Yep. Well, let's get into it, guys. A&M coming off the high, man. Everybody's patting them on the back, saying, y'all the best. Marcel Reed. Dennis Dodd put freaking Marcel Reed in his short Heisman list. That's insanity. But regardless.
He did?
Check his Twitter.
Oh, no. Boy. Oh,
no,
Dennis.
How are we feeling about this one, guys? Because, man, does this have the makings of South Carolina at night, sandstorm. We saw him do this 2 years ago to Hendon Hooker in Tennessee, right?
Been there. Watch it. You better watch out. It's a trap game, dude.
No, not a trap game. I said this 2 weeks ago on this show. I said, look out. A&M's going to beat LSU, and look out. South Carolina the next week is not a look-ahead game because, again, you get John, you get that defense playing well, and you get Sellers doing his thing where he can score in bunches just for the heck of it. And this game goes sideways in a hurry at South Carolina. I'm calling for South Carolina to win this game.
And they're so good on the line of scrimmage. They're really good defensive front. You get after. I mean, I assume Marcel Reed's going to start this game. I don't know. He's a guy that's very dynamic, and I thought that was a great adjustment, put him in the game. But he's not a great thrower. And if it's Connor, whatever, I think the defensive line play for South Carolina can be a true difference. And again, night games at South Carolina would not shock me if this kind of comes down to the end there.
I think they're going to start Wigman. I really do. And I
why?
How
I don't know.
You, I guess,
you hate happiness.
I'm just telling you, if you listen to the presser yesterday from Elko, the vibe is I think they're going to start Connor Wigman. I can't pretend to explain that to you.
You think they'll play both?
Consistent. What'd you say?
You think they'll play both? Like, if they do that, I think both will play.
I think that they are going to have a plan ready for Marcel Reed. I think that they've said Connor Wigman is our quarterback. I think they've made that decision. And despite him winning you the game against LSU, that being Marcel Reed, it feels like they're going to go back to him. And, Elko made a lot of excuses for Wigman in his post game and his presser yesterday. And I just didn't really understand it. Like, you know what I mean? Like excuses for saying things like it's going to, there wasn't a lot of windows. He was kind of rushing things. He was kind of making it sound like, well, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. We're going to figure it out for you. And that's just not the case. I don't know why you don't roll with Marcel Reed. He's the guy. The one consistent you've seen from the A&M quarterback position has been his legs. I would develop the offense around that, especially how you like to run the football anyway. So I don't know. I think they start Wigman. I'm telling you. We'll see, but that's where I'm leaning right now.
Are you sure that it was Mike Elko talking and not someone in a Mike Elko costume who snuck into the press conference to say maybe
they have the same body? Sorry, Spencer.
I mean, I can see him continuing going with the 2 quarterback system. Does it make sense? Probably not. But as has been pointed out, Marcel Reed isn't that great of a thrower.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to get rid of the ball either
in the game, right? I mean,
that's what I was just like. Let's look at DJ Lagway. Let's look at the aforementioned Thorne. We want to say yes, running, good athletic quarterback. Okay, fine. Milroe is in the same boat, and those teams aren't continuing to do what they need to do. I actually have no problem them going back to Wigman at all. It was a half of a very athletic guy running back there. You don't know what you're going to get. If this was 2-3, if this was a full offseason, maybe, but let's not crown this guy anybody yet. He had a half of running around.
Yeah, don't crown him, but still, like
Jalen Milroe and Peyton Thorne in the same sentence ever again.
I'm going to continue to do so. And
he's also 3-0 this year as a starting quarterback for A&M. Again, I'm not saying that he can't throw the football. And then of course he won that game against LSU. Like I would play both of them, but I mean certainly
yes.
Like he's not changing the game. That's for sure.
And what's fun about this matchup is both if they do play Marcel Reed and Lenore Sellers, both redshirt freshmen. Like we could get 2 more years of these guys playing at their respective schools in the SEC. So it's kind of a fun story. And keep in mind, schedule stays the same next year, just flips. So this will be South Carolina at A&M next year. And so, it could be the start of a budding, fun rivalry there.
It's already a trophy game, Gordy. So I don't know why you're saying could be the start of a rivalry. Real quick on this whole thing.
No one knows this is a rivalry. This is the worst rivalry.
It's terrible. They forced it on us. It's so bad, just so bad. It's like when Adele came out and they had her on every single radio station for like 3.5 years. It's the same thing.
That is not at all the same.
That's a very interesting comparison. Well, the good thing is Kyle Kennard won't be there next year when they go to Kyle Field. So that's actually one very positive in this entire conversation.
The funniest thing that could happen out of all this, though, is if after taking the press conference stand and saying, listen, there's substance to this program. This is a program. This is a real program. Him like basically calling out the most thinly veiled call out of Jimbo Fisher of all time, and then making the most Jimbo Fisher move of all time would be just so A&M would be painful.
Poetic.
It would be.
Yeah. By the way, I think he should have stood on that quote. Like him backtracking, going, "This wasn't dude. You called him a fast talking politician. There's nobody that
could have been anybody."
Better than Jimbo, the
lots of politicians out there. It's election season, guys. I mean, he could have been referring to any individual.
Yeah, that one was almost too much on the nose. It was just too on the nose. Everybody knew there's like, whoa.
Let's jump over to the other game, guys. Georgia, Florida, Georgia, whatever the line you want to call it. Look, this game a few weeks ago, we would have said this was no chance for Florida, but Billy Napier winning some games. DJ Lagway playing well. They got some running game.
Chance.
Jaden Baugh. By the way, can I remind you, Carson Beck 8 interceptions over his last 4 games. Anybody buying Florida here?
No.
I mean, maybe to hang around. I mean, maybe.
It is a rivalry game, and Florida's playing better. So I think there's enough hate in there to keep the game close, but Georgia should be able to pull away.
Jay, I believe you made similar comments ahead of Red River. What was the final score of that game?
I don't know. What happened?
Someone can jog my memory. I think it was in the 34-3 range.
Something like that. I don't know. I don't even think the game happened. Continue.
About this rivalry, let's just also, like, I will voice this as somebody that grew up in the state of Georgia, watching these people. Listen, Georgia fans have been the champions of August my entire life, all 28 years that I've been alive. They shut up, Clint. I identify as a 28-year-old. So here's the thing: they have been like for 30 years when like the Spur era started. They lost 21 of 30 games to Florida. They hate these people, and no one hates Florida more outside of PETA and Al Gore. No one hates him more than Kirby Smart, and they are off a bye week. Like there is nobody that embodies a team and a fan base more in this specific scenario than Kirby does. It's going to get ugly. It always gets ugly. Like as long as they don't start run a bunch of wheel routes like they did in 2020, they have no shot at winning.
If you watch Kirby Smart after each one of these games, the biggest internet memes of all time of Kirby Smart come after these games because it for him is more real than anything else. I swear to you, if Glenn Schumann had his child this week, he would be fired. Kirby would say, no, last week, fine. This week, no. It is absurd how much he hates them.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, this point spread's a little big. I think 16.5 in a rivalry game, something like this, is a little big. I do think it's going to be well in hand by the fourth quarter come around. But the defense has woken up. Kirby Smart has the mentality of us against the world again. That narrative is back up for them, and it's Florida week. Yeah, absolutely.
35-6. Georgia wins.
It's absolutely hilarious that the whole Florida fan base has been on the Fire Billy Napier bandwagon for the last 6 weeks, and he's going to save his job to where he can't recruit to any of it.
Yeah. Well, it has become the whiniest fan base. That's tough to say in the SEC.
Yes.
But it's become honestly one of the most insufferable fan bases, I think, maybe in the entire country. Like he has no support from the fans. He wins 3 of his last 4. By the way, he's also like, if this was happening anywhere else with a true freshman quarterback, and listen, it's not like Mertz is like setting the world on fire with like passing yards and anything like that, like touchdowns, whatever. He was leading the country in completion percentage. Like he was having another very good season, and now you have to replace him with a true freshman. And like it's just so odd to watch somebody want someone else to fail that's not one of my exes. You know what I mean?
Real quick show of hands. Anybody taking Florida to upset Georgia? Nobody?
No.
Who's taking South Carolina to upset A&M? Raise your hand. All right. About half the crew, a little bit more than half the crew. All right. I like it. All right. When we come back, is anyone else on upset alert? Which of the matchups could be sneaky good this week? We'll talk more ball with the SEC squad coming up next. Back to the squad in just a second, but want to remind you guys, our friends over at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or an agonizing second overtime, which is why they've created the Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel, the energy shot made just for super fans like us, the fans who are first in the parking lot and who are last to leave. We see you. Again, check it out. 5 Hour Energy. Make sure you load up before you head to your tailgate this weekend. 5 Hour Energy, they know that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stay in the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5 Hour Energy, available at 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. All right, roll along here, fellas, as we continue on with our Locked On SEC squad. And I want to hit on a couple of the games happening this weekend. How about the early one, 11 a.m., Kegs and Eggs, as number 19 Ole Miss travels to 5-3 Arkansas, where Arkansas rebounded nicely from their blowout loss at home to LSU to go beat down Mississippi State over in Starkville. Baker Mayfield, John Neighbors, how are we feeling, Arkansas, on this one?
Well, I'm just glad we finally got to this game instead of talking about crap games that nobody cares about. It's about time. So let's see. We got Arkansas and Ole Miss. This game is historic for a lot of reasons. 2001, 7 overtime game. They didn't change the rule for that one because that was back when this country was great. And you had, of course, another game later in that decade that ended up being like, this game's always crazy. The Hunter Henry heave, you never know what to expect. So listen, I think Ole Miss is favored by 7 points according to FanDuel, and that's about right. Ole Miss should win. They are the better team, but throw it out, man. No one knows what is going to happen in this game. No one can predict it. And Sam Pittman is undefeated against Lane Kiffin in Fayetteville. So there's something.
Dude, they're
to hold your hat on.
8-1 in their last 9 trips. Like Arkansas's 8-1 in their last 9 games against Ole Miss in Fayetteville.
Yeah, they haven't won since 2008, which they got screwed on. I don't remember that at all. Shea Haddock would have made that field goal if Houston Nutt didn't have his players' offensive pass interference that didn't get called, whatever. Yeah. But yeah.
It's absolutely nuts. Ole Miss can win in Little Rock. Ole Miss can win in Oxford. They've won 4 out of the last 6 games. But for whatever reason, the voodoo around Fayetteville, it has been a house of horrors traditionally for Ole Miss, like the 6 interception Matt Corral game in 2020. And then the 2022 game where the SEC Network crew was sitting there talking about Lane Kiffin to Auburn, the whole freaking broadcast. And Ole Miss ended up being down 30 points in the first half, and to where everybody was like, yeah, Lane's probably gone, isn't he? And it's just weird. This is the drunkest game on the schedule each and every single year, and I love it. When the SEC goes to 9 games, I am so thankful that Ole Miss and Arkansas are going to continue to play, because everybody talks about who is Arkansas's rival. You play for the boot against LSU. You play for whatever that is against Missouri. No, they've played Ole Miss pretty much consistently since 1981. They play the game. That's the biggest rival that Arkansas has.
It's not. It's not at all.
Yeah.
It's not. But I mean, we'll go with it. It's a crazy game and it's stupid. But I feel good about Arkansas's chances. I feel good about Arkansas's chances in this game. I don't know why, but I do. They shouldn't win, but I feel good about it. Plus, Sam Pittman, he's been a little happier. This is his final hurrah. This is his final season at Arkansas. So he's got to make it count with Ole Miss coming to town.
Do you think even if he has a winning season, he's going to hang it up?
Yeah, buddy. I've been saying, I went on Feinbaum at SEC Media today saying this. He's going to resign and he's going to retire at the end of the year.
Really?
You were on Feinbaum?
Yeah, can you believe that? Have you ever heard of him? He was in all the papers this morning. Yeah, he's a really big, well-known person.
Yeah, and nothing's ever wrong on that show. It's all
right. No, John, no one has their finger on the pulse of actual college football like Paul.
Paul could name the starting linebackers for Vanderbilt, so I'll just put that out there.
Well, I'll answer Steven's question, because the Texas game is actually, you got Ole Miss, and then you have the bye week, and then you have the Texas game. And, just like with coming to Arkansas against Ole Miss, people come to Arkansas to beat Texas too. So one more time, Horns. I feel like that's going to happen again.
They basically invented Horns down. So
they did. Yeah. And the SEC chant, if you can believe it. Arkansas did invent that.
Raise your hand. Who's taking Arkansas in the upset? Only me and John, huh? Everybody else taking Ole Miss? I'll just tell you this: devastating loss if Lane Kiffin loses this one. I mean, they may want him to leave if he loses the third one.
If Ole Miss loses this game and they have the third loss, the flamethrower is going to be on my show next week.
I want him to be tarmacked twice in his life. That would be the best thing in the world.
11:45 Central on SEC Network. Zach kind of touched on it earlier, but 3-5 Auburn hosting Vandy, and Auburn is a home favorite for some reason. Anybody buying Auburn to win at home?
Heck no.
Okay, Clinton, Marler are both buying it. Tell me why.
Well, I mean, so listen, if you just take a step back and you look at Peyton Thorne, I think Peyton Thorne's biggest obstacle this season has not been interceptions or reading defense. It's Hugh Freeze. And I don't care how this sounds like, dude, you're the one that came in here as a QB guru, self-proclaimed QB whisperer, all that kind of crap. You had Bo Wallace be a back-to-back 3,000-yard passer. You have Malik Willis. You got him to be like a third-round pick or whatever it was, and talking about stealing stealing the show at the NFL draft, all that kind of stuff, or NFL Combine. You've gone to Auburn. You have all the pieces in place that you've asked for. You got the biggest turnaround for any one position unit in the country at your receiver position. All you need to do is figure out a way to not put the game solely on that kid's shoulders. And if you look at his numbers, outside of the Cal game, I think he's got 11 or 12 touchdowns in the season with only 3 picks. He's been okay. He's not super accurate, but you saw it this past weekend. You give Jarquez Hunter the football. There's been 2 times in his 45 career games that he's had 20 touches or more, and he's had a career high on Saturday. They've won those games by an average of 20 points, and he averaged 10 yards a carry. Just be balanced on offense. Stop just beating your head against the wall and letting Peyton Thorne be the sole point of blame.
As somebody that has ridden the Hugh Freeze roller coaster, that people seem to be forgetting that good Bo and bad Bo existed. And it wasn't that Bo was doing anything differently. That was Hugh Freeze's fault as well. Hugh Freeze has an ego to the level that he needs to be the quarterback whisperer.
Right.
He's not going to have back-to-back games where Jarquez Hunter gets the load of the ball. It's going to be a situation where he's going to go back and he's going to try to make Peyton Thorne into Joe Montana and go and try and win a football game. And Vanderbilt, that plays directly into their hands. They create turnovers, they play extremely slow, and they have an electric playmaker. If Vanderbilt gets the lead on Auburn, they're going to take the air out of that game, and Hugh Freeze is going to freak out. We've seen this happen. Diego Pavia has beaten Hugh Freeze 2 times before, once at Liberty, once at Auburn with New Mexico State, and now he has a chance to win the game with Vanderbilt. I think that Pavia has the magic necessary to win in Jordan-Hare again.
Well, let me ask you this. At what point in time are we going to start just giving credit to Vanderbilt and like saying, hey, they're a pretty good team? You know, because every single game we go into, it's like, well, you know, they're not going to beat Bama. And they did. Oh, well, you know, they're going to let down against Kentucky. Well, they won. And then, they're not even going to have a chance against Texas. Well, I mean, they did lose the game, but they gave them all that they wanted. At some point in time, we got to start saying, okay, Vanderbilt's actually good. And this is how I feel about the same thing at Auburn. Well, Auburn beat Kentucky or whoever last week, and then everything's fine now. No, like Vanderbilt's a good team. And I think they're going to cause problems for Auburn because I still don't think their offense is any good. And I think Vanderbilt's going to win, and I think they're going to win by 2 scores.
The only reason I don't think that is because Vegas is begging you to take Vandy.
Yes, that line is just reeks to high heaven. It is a stinky line. It got me thinking. Went back and looked at a couple of things. The composite talent of Auburn is there. There's only a handful of teams that have more talented. Now you look at coaching wise. There's teams like Michigan, USC, and those guys have very, very bad coaching. Auburn has very bad coaching, but it's a home game. It's going to be up for it. Vandy's coming off of a tough game itself, going down to Jordan-Hare. I am on record of famously saying Jordan-Hare scares the tar out of me every single year you play there. I don't care what team it is. That place has magic. I can't believe. I've seen talented Georgia teams, way more talented Georgia teams, way more well-coached teams go in there and just lay an egg. Vanderbilt's coming off of a tough game. They're playing a team that is thinking to themselves they have something going. And if for some reason Hugh has figured just a few things out, just a few things go right for him, this game can turn. That's why I'm taking Auburn.
Well, I don't disagree with what John said either. Vanderbilt is a good football team. And like, make no mistake about it, they beat Alabama. Like that wasn't a luck thing. They beat Alabama, and their game plan was perfect. Like, keep the ball away from them. Don't let Milroe and the company on the field, all that kind of stuff. But if you look at some of Auburn's actual games, like there's like that metric we see every week on Twitter. It's like, did we really get beat that bad or whatever? Almost every single week, it seems like Auburn is like, should have somehow won a game. Like between the 20s, they're one of the most explosive offenses in the country. They just seem to always screw it up. So to John's point, he's right. I keep waiting for them to turn a corner and convincing myself that they're going to be better, but like it is November and they have been kind of the same thing for 8 weeks.
Yeah, but you need to be careful in this game because if Vanderbilt strings some first downs together and scores a touchdown and Auburn goes 3 and out and Vanderbilt gets the ball back, next thing you look up, there's 10 minutes to go in the second quarter and you're freaking out.
No, that game could be a blowout in Vanderbilt's favor, 100%. I'm not putting that off the table.
I mean, that D-line, what 5 sacks last week? 5 sacks, 10, 11 TFLs. I mean, they got after Texas. So,
Eric, how much are you sweating that Vandy finale?
I mean, it's no gimme. I mean, that's for sure. Like, and here's the thing: like, it's on the road at Vandy. It's always a home game for Tennessee. But I mean, Vandy has won and played well against, they beat Alabama at home, played well against Texas at home. I mean, it's even more impressive what Vanderbilt's doing this year. So, it's certainly no gimme. I mean, I think Tennessee will be favored in that game, but quarterback's dynamic, man. Tennessee's done a good job against mobile quarterbacks this year for the most part. So that gives me a little bit of confidence heading into it, but.
Yeah, if you hate Diego Pavia, you hate Christmas. Everybody's rooting for the kid.
Sure,
to wrap it up, Oklahoma will get Maine. We're not going to spend time on that. Mississippi State gets UMass. We're not going to spend time on that. The one game we haven't really touched on, Eric, is your game. Kentucky 3-5 at number 7 Tennessee. Should be a game that Tennessee should roll because Kentucky's really in a funk right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to be as bad as Kentucky is offensively. I mean. It's bad. It's horrible. Again, don't know what quarterback they're going to start. They're both atrocious. I mean, Brock Vanderbilt has been such a disappointment. I know they've got no rhythm in the run game. I know the offensive line's been much worse than last year. They have 2 really dynamic playmakers at wide receivers. So again, I'm kind of surprised they've lacked explosiveness on offense. Defensively, I mean, they got a lot of the same old heads there. And I mean, they added the linebacker from Georgia. For blanking on his name, he's got like 7 names. Good player. Derek Jackson's still there. We know about J.J. Weaver. We know about Walker in the middle. I know a lot of those guys are kind of beat up, but Florida ran all over them. Auburn ran all over them. I just think advantage Tennessee in every phase of the game right now.
Also you want to talk about a team that's waiting to like turn a corner offensively with the actual pieces in place. Like, listen, there's just no way that I think we're going to get through 12 weeks of Nico being Hawaiian Joe Milton, as I so wanted to tweet out after the first half against Alabama, but did not get to, obviously. I mean, the weapons are there, man. They just need to get healthy. And like, they are I kept wondering why Alabama wouldn't throw the ball deep. I still think they probably should have taken some shots, but I mean, they turned the ball over 3 times in the first half alone, gave up 0 points off that, and made Alabama play left-handed, and it was awkward at best watching Bama play left-handed.
Yeah, Tennessee's had receivers running behind the secondary the last 3 weeks in Southeastern Conference play. I mean, when it's not Nico, it's literally it's been both. Like, Nico's overshot on the receivers have literally dropped so many. I mean, it's just been disgusting. Yeah. The last 2 games, Tennessee's fumbled on its first possession after driving the length of the field. So, I mean, that all counts. Like, you can't act like it doesn't, but I'm with you. I mean, Tennessee's offense is literally so close, and if it clicks to go along with that defense, could be a really, really good team.
Mm-hmm. I think that this is going to be a game. I think Kentucky, they've proven throughout the more recent years of the Stoops era and this year that they will play up to competition and they will play down the competition. And I am in Tennessee's going to win this football game, but I would be eyeing Kentucky to cover in this game. That defense is better than it shows often. I mean, they have games where they look great and they have games where they look awful. But if that good defense that we saw against Georgia and you saw in a few other games this year shows up against Ole Miss, that team can cover the line. But it just hadn't
showed up in a while. I mean, the first 5 weeks of the year, we were trying to figure out who Kentucky is.
Yeah, and I don't think that's who they are. But I'm just saying I wouldn't. Tennessee's going to win. I feel very confident saying that. I would not be in any way surprised if this was a ugly game that's really close and Kentucky has a few chances to win but lose and they cover. That's what I'd say about this game.
Yeah, this is a situation. I'm about to go into excuse mode, but this isn't the same Kentucky team that Ole Miss and Georgia saw. They are in quit mode. They're absolutely in quit mode right now.
You all remember last year Stoops had it in hand going to A&M and just totally said, screw it to everybody else. And then, just kidding. Now I'm back and now I'm here. And he had to try to get the team back up on board with him. This team has quit on him. It's quit on everybody. This team is soulless and lifeless.
Hate to see it.
We shall see. The line is 16.5 on FanDuel. If it gets up to 18.5, I may take Kentucky plus the points. We'll see. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the SEC Squad. Remember to follow and subscribe to your favorite SEC show. We'll be covering your favorite team every day throughout the season. And don't forget, I'll have you covered the entire conference each and every day with Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. For now, we'll talk to you guys next week or on another edition of the SEC Squad.